Welcome to Passion Vista podcast, the platform where we celebrate extraordinary individuals who lead with heart, create with vision, and transform the world through their passion. I'm your host Neetu Singh Marwa, and today we are joined by a remarkable woman whose journey of self-discovery has become a beacon of empowerment for people worldwide. Welcome, Amy Sinton Baranowska. She is a certified life and business coach, trainer, speaker, YouTuber, and columnist. From England to Poland, from leadership classroom to global coaching stages, Amy has built a career rooted in resilience, purpose, and the desire to help others unlock their fullest potential. Her philosophy bridges clarity, growth, and authenticity, guiding people to embrace challenges and transform them into opportunities. In this episode, we will get to know Emmy's inspiring story, explore her views on personal growth, and learn how she continues to influence and uplift people across the globe. Welcome to Passion Vista podcast, and I'm your host Neetu Singh with a very special guest of mine and a very dear friend to me, Amy Sinton Baranaska.
Hi, Dr. Neetu.
Hello, Amy. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. It's so lovely to see you after such a long time. How have you been?
Absolutely good. Absolutely good. So, Amy, how is it? We are catching up after a very long time.
Yeah, the last time I think we saw each other was at the event in India, which was an amazing experience. I remember I met all of the team and you, your husband, and it was just a great evening.
Absolutely. We actually, missed you in many of our events that happened eventually. And we're looking forward to meet up you and catch up with you again.
For sure, very gladly.
So, as we go ahead, we have lots of questions for you, Emmy. So, most importantly, going further, we would like to start with uh, the journey, and of course, we would like to know that many people know what they should do. But as you are a coach, you are a leader, you've been coaching, you've been training, you've been doing wonderful into the industry. So, we would like to now understand that so many people know what they should do, yet don't actually follow through. In your view, why do you think this gap exists between knowing and doing?
Sure, I think that's a great question. I think that for sure the gap exists because there is a really big difference between doing and knowing. I think that knowing is definitely logical, but then doing is emotional. And I think that we often underestimate how our habits, our various fears, and our comfort zones are just really influencing our actions on a daily basis. And it's not that people don't care, but it's often that change just feels really uncomfortable to people, and our brains will naturally resist it. So I think that closing the gap just doesn't really require more knowledge or anything of the sort. I think it just requires much better systems, and I think accountability and emotional buy-in. I think that is the key of this, because lots of people just hate the feeling of discomfort because it's creating new tracks in our mind for these new habits. So just to understand these systems and the emotions behind it is going to be really supportive to doing and knowing, and not just knowing and being full of fear or even hypocrisy sometimes.
Absolutely. So, what's that one underrated daily habit that you believe can quietly but powerfully change lives over time?
I think that this is often really underestimated, but I think that oftentimes just taking some time to have like 10 minutes at the end of the day, preferably after everything's gone through, just to revise what happened, what emotions this created in a person, what you want to do about it, so that you can create powerful actions with this. So it's either by just making voice notes or journaling about what you think, or just quiet thought. just understanding what you feel, etc. And I know so many people say, coaching and psychology and all of these things, journal, journal, journal. And it's not about exactly keeping a memoir or a diary that you're going to look back to. It's just about understanding, today I feel like however you feel. And then understanding yourself is going to really empower you. And then you can catch yourself before you're going to repeat any type of mistakes, because you understand, well, hopefully, how you feel and why, and you're not going to repeat the same patterns. And so it's like giving your mind a regular tune up, basically.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. So, we often talk about journaling, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are not aware of the steps of how to do journaling and what exactly do we mean by journaling. So, if you can elaborate a bit on this.
Sure. So it can either be a professional journal that you have, that you buy in a shop, or it can just be pieces of paper. You can use a regular A4 piece of paper and a pen, pencil. Those are just details that you can adjust by yourself to whatever you need. And I would say start with writing how you feel, writing your emotions, writing your goals, because I think everybody has to have goals, because without goals we're all completely lost. And that's what we really want to avoid, because we want to have our thoughts conscious, our plans conscious, and so not giving into default and kind of autopilot, and understanding ourselves is the entire point behind journaling. And so just write whatever feels important to you. And if, for example, somebody has any type of a conflict or kind of messy thoughts, you can even draw something that's going to be symbolic to you, that's going to help you understand yourself better. Or you can write about the challenge that you're going through, just so that you can learn from it. Because sometimes we have such intimate or difficult dilemmas that we really don't feel like we can share with anybody. Sometimes people don't even want to go to talk with, a coach, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and then they're dealing with these heavy thoughts and emotions that start to burden them. And so in order for this burden not to become too big, we can become our best friend in the process and just write this down, understand ourselves better, what we need, and then hopefully start to make a plan of action. So at the end of the journaling, you can write a few small steps, like a micro plan of what you want to do to make something better. And I know that a lot of people think that in order to make a situation far better in their life, they need to completely change who they are, their identity, all of their relationships. But it really takes very small steps to make such huge changes. And then you just start to go and you start to create momentum, and you can create immense success by just understanding yourself better through journaling in such a way.
Absolutely, I agree. Even I have lately, I wasn't aware, in those days when we were young, that journaling is so important. And knowingly, unknowingly, I've done a lot of journaling, and I've like written diaries and diaries of the same. And it was always, I think, great because it always reflected that, what emotion I am going through. And it always gave an awareness.
Yeah. I think, going back to my personal experience about journaling, the closest to it as a child or growing up was that I kept a diary in which I would write what I thought, what I had experienced. And I think it all stopped when my mom found my journal and she had found out what my first kiss was, etc. And I think I just ditched the entire idea for many, many years about writing anything of the sort. And then I think when iPhones came in, I think I was a teenager or an adult at that time approximately. And then we have these notes that we can write in. That's where I think I got back to that and creating visual imagery of what I want as a goal and just writing down anything, even as a practical reason, being that when you have a lot on your plate, you cannot remember everything at once or think clearly. So I'd kind of use it as an extra mental capacity and just write everything so I don't need to think about it all the time and just schedule and write whatever I need. So that has been a great way to getting back to journaling. And then I would understand while I was learning about coaching and while I would just do things in my own free time that there is so much growth creation and just learning about your own self when you write all of these types of things about your life.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and just make sure
completely.
that you don't show what you don't want to show to others, and then you're gonna have it flow naturally, and it's gonna be really easy to, because I think that's the main thing. You don't want others to see some of these thoughts because we all think, oh my goodness, like such a horrible thought that I have, or,
Yes, because
you
they
just don't
judge.
want
They
others.
judge. We are scared that, we're
Exactly.
not allowing them to judge us.
Yeah. So I think it can be very therapeutic even if you write something and then either shred it or just put it in a place where nobody's going to read it except for you.
Absolutely. So, in this process, I'm sure everyone faces moments of negative self talk. So, how have you personally learned to break that cycle and replace it with something healthier?
Yeah. I think for me, the turning point was really realizing that I just cannot silence negative talk and that I just need to replace it with something. So whenever I catch myself saying, like, you'll fail, or thinking that I'll fail or something, then I try to respond with, like, but what if it works? Change the negative for something more positive because you cannot get rid of all these negative thoughts. So just changing it and not being toxically positive, just looking at things as they are, but being optimistic and realistic and setting high goals. So it's not blind positivity. It's not blind positivity. It's just redirectioning the conversation in my head so that my thoughts don't go in a negative kind of way. They just go into the way that I consciously and in an aware manner make for myself. So if I ever catch myself having a negative thought, I'm like, no, pause. Is this even helpful to me in any kind of way? I know that a lot of people that experience anxiety, for example, can benefit from this a lot. Like some people are scared, for example, of riding in a car or something of the sort. And what you have to think is this actually something that's happening? Is this actually something that's dangerous? Or is it just anxiety? Because it feels exactly the same in the moment. You'll feel the same terror, right? And so you need to calm yourself down and think, is this actually happening? Or is this some kind of scary possibility in my mind that I can calm myself down and I can redirect my thoughts to more positive? That's not only going to make me calm because I'm redirecting my thoughts to more positive, but it's also going to change the energy and it's going to change the outcome of the events, hopefully, because you're just thinking more positively. And so all of us have to do this. All of us have this way of our thoughts creeping in and making us scared or nervous, and with time, hopefully, we all learn how to do this. You can see this most in small children. When they're going to sleep, they're like, oh no, it's so scary, it's dark, there's a monster, hiding behind the curtains. And all of us went through this, and all of us just had to learn actually, there is hopefully no monster behind the curtains. Everything is exactly the same in the daytime as it is in the nighttime, it's just darker. And that what changes is our approach and how we direct our thoughts. So that's definitely helpful when you just replace the negative thoughts with more positive ones, but don't lie to yourself because sometimes there could be something, God forbid, wrong, right? So we need to be real about what's going on and understand and just support ourselves as best as possible, because when we take care of ourselves, when we are our own best friend, we learn how to protect ourselves even in the way that we think. That's a form of protection and self-care, how you manage your thoughts.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. And if we all try to implement it, I think the life's gonna change beautifully.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree. I think much more positive outcome then.
Yes. Absolutely. So, Emmy, we have a very important question, and that is that do you think balance in life truly exists, or is it more of a myth we always chase of it?
No, that's a great question. I think everybody is interested about this. This is like one of the hottest topics when it comes to coaching and so-called work-life balance. That is a very fashionable way to speak nowadays as people become more aware of mindset, about, practicing mindfulness and balance in your life. I think that balance is much less about having equal time, and it's just much more about intentional trade offs. So, if you're going to be having some time in which, for example, you have a plan, then nobody's plan is ever going to work perfectly. And it's not about having the exact proportions of everything. Nobody has a balanced plate. It's just about focusing on what matters most in this season, what matters most in this day. And if something demands hustle, then that's what you're going to need to be doing. And in other times, you're just going to be focusing more on resting. That's going to be the focus of the season or the day or even the hour sometimes. So just understanding yourself, it's not something that everybody or anybody can do perfectly, but we can all do better. And we can also practice this by arranging our thoughts in the best way, closing off this, negative self-talk. And I think it's just constantly rebalancing and figuring out what you need in the given time.
True, true, very true. If we understand this beautiful theory of balancing, I think we will won most of our games.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, what I learned was that sometimes I just really need to focus on what the responsibilities are, what the opportunities are during the day, and then I just have time to rest at the end of the day, because if I don't do that, then everything is going to be a mess. And so you have to understand what these must-haves are for yourself and just incorporate them into your schedule, into your week. It's kind of like everybody talks about, fashion must-haves. Like for the office, white shirt. We both have a white shirt on right now, right? So that's a fashion must-have, let's say. And you have to have the same, trade-offs and must-haves in your schedule in order to have any type of a healthy balance. And it's different. Every day it's different. So it's exactly like, keeping balance on a line that you're walking on. It's just every step of the way requires balance. It's not just first step you try to balance it out, and then all the rest you can just wiggle wobble because you'd fall off otherwise. So every day each of us need to think, what is the key? Where am I going? What is, draining me, what's burning energy, what is not necessarily the most important, and make progress by focusing on the must-haves and what's most important for us.
Wow, so beautifully you described it. I really appreciate that.
I hope that people will understand that even as a coach, for example, somebody that understands plus minus what I can do to improve my life, I understand various techniques. It doesn't mean that you can ever have perfection. It's just the art of learning to do these trade-offs. Like, okay, this is more important. I'm going to not do this right now, and just taking it step by step. So letting go of perfection is also part of the process.
Indeed, indeed. I must agree to this that because it actually makes you so easy. I mean, you're not into the
Exactly.
trap or a burden of keep on doing it, or performing it, or be the perfect person, be the perfect boss, or be
Yeah.
the perfect human. And I think as you go with the flow and you leave it, and things come onto you, and everything is well planned beautifully. And sometimes you
Yeah,
also
that's
are blessed
exactly
with
right.
beautiful surprises, which people are actually letting you do what you want to.
Exactly. Yeah, understanding that a lot of the blessings come in life when they're just spontaneous, or, even a setback that you think is so difficult can later turn out to be the most beautiful lesson ever, or something that protected you from something difficult, right? We often feel really stuck in the moment and we're thinking, oh no. But today's struggle and today's pain can tomorrow become the flex that you have from the strength that you've built. So it's really important to understand we don't have, mental muscles even without these hardships. So just letting go. And as you've said so beautifully, also just going with how it is and being open to what life gives too.
Absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, even when change is clearly good, we always talk about it that change is beautiful, change is required because change is coming with a lot of new things, but still we tend to resist it. So, what are you views on it? That why do we resist it, and how can we actually, avoid or go with the flow?
Well, I think that a lot of people resist change because we understand that it often just requires loss. And even a positive change does require some type of a loss and of letting go of something that we had before, whether it's time, whether it's a relationship, whether it's some kind of a resource, whether it's a job. And so when we go into the new, then sometimes we lose part of this familiarity of what we had before. But a healthier habit means just letting go of some of the old comforts and leaning into the discomfort. And our minds try to protect us and make this autopilot that we live in easy by making it much more simple to keep repeating the same things over and over again. But when we're trying to do something new, something even better, then we have to just try and let go of that and struggle through to make the new habit. And our brains often see loss more strongly to gain. So even though we could be gaining something absolutely incredible, our mind is so scared of the loss that it's going to have to face. And so I think just to basically like ease the resistance, it helps to honor what exactly we're leaving behind and understand what it is and hopefully make it a choice of ours, right? So mm, just to change that and not to focus only on what was as a negative, but honor what it was and then focus on what will be ahead, I think is really, really key. And once we shift that type of mindset, then we can make, such a big resistance smaller when we're making any type of a change. I know for me, if it's, an eating habit, then it takes time to understand, okay, I'm not going to be eating this thing that I really like, that it feels like a loss, but I'm going to eat more healthy and I'm going to have much better outcome because of it. For example, or a lot of people really hate going to the gym. This I think is one of the most universal things that all human beings face. A lot of us hate going to the gym and I was one of those people for quite some time also. I would love to do dancing and bicycle, etc., but the gym itself I didn't really like. And then with time I understood that only by going to the gym can I specifically work on some of the muscles that I want to. Like, for example, one time I also had to do physiotherapy for my knee, so I understood I cannot just do whatever. It has to be this specific exercise. And I learned that actually, if I'm persistent enough, then it's going to become much less of a discomfort. And then I would just feel all the positives from it and I would get the positive outcome. And that really changed. So just honoring, okay, yes, it does require change, but it's not going to be so bad and it's going to bring positivity, hopefully, is one of the main things.
I agree. I agree. And very beautifully you described it. When it comes to our health, I think people and viewers can easily connect to it that how important the change is and how important it's going with the flow. And I completely, would say that I am too a kind of a person that who hates to go to the gym. But of late it's like the body and the things, and of course like we have to respect the change. So respecting the change, even I started going for it, and I'm like, now I'm enjoying it. And I think it's really a nice thing that one should actually, it motivates you, it pumps you up with full of energy, and you're like, I'm all set to do my entire workout and day now. I'm ready.
Exactly. And I think one of the things also to keep in mind to make the resistance smaller when you're making change is to take it step by step and not overwhelm yourself, because you can see something super inspiring or super motivating and then you want to go all in, but you need to understand that those people also probably took it step by step. It's like with building a company. It's the same with going to the gym. You take it day by day. It's not like, going in and having a heart attack kind of workout that will build any kind of resistance or positive outcome in the long run. So, yeah, as somebody that used to really dislike going to the gym many years ago, and recently I even launched my app where I have workouts, you can really change a lot in your life just doing things step by step, I think.
Oh, wow. Wow. So we would like to know the name of your app, and we would definitely like to go for your app too.
Thanks. It's Amy Sinton Baranowska Coaching. And so it's easy to remember because it's my name and my surname and what I love doing. And you can find recipes there, you can find workouts, you can find an e-course, and all different things to work on your mindset, various tools that are going to support others. I think one of the biggest shifts that I actually learned from my grandmother was when she told me, remember to include enough protein in your diet. Obviously, consult a doctor or a dietitian before making any of these changes. Understand your own, medical history, your own body, whatever you need, because each of our bodies are different. But for me personally, I learned that the more protein that I include, healthy protein, that the longer I have stable energy and it's not up and down as much. So taking out things that would be like bread, potatoes. I keep a little bit of rice, and that because I don't want to, go completely crazy into it. But I got to the point where I don't even like bread as much because I know that it's not going to give me lasting energy and then my stomach can hurt afterwards. So, not going for these, short lived efforts and outcomes in food also makes a big change. And so, I try to teach my kids the same also. Some of them were resistant to it at the beginning when I tried to change some of the things in their diet because, they'll go to their friend and they're like, oh, we had this food and it's delicious. And then you have to explain to them why it might not be the best idea to eat that. But then again, also not going into just completely 100% healthy things all the time. Like, I'm fine with desserts, but if it's going to be a dessert, hopefully it's a healthier one. So I've mentioned some of these dessert recipes also with higher protein in this app. So anybody that wants to have a look at it can have 1 day free trial and can be purchased on the website that I mentioned on my Instagram page, and then can download it from Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
Wow, that's really wonderful. We'll also be mentioning that in our YouTube section where people can go and they can download it from there and also get in touch with you.
Great, thanks. So check it out then. Thanks.
Wonderful. So, Amy, we would now like to take a twist and turn and would like to now understand that what's that one surprising pattern you've noticed in people around you? Something that seems almost universal, and how much do you think our childhood beliefs and experiences continue to shape the decisions we make as an adult?
I think definitely one of the patterns that I've noticed that's almost, inevitably found in everybody is that everybody underestimates themselves. So people will often think, as we've spoken, that other people have everything figured out, that they are the only ones that are just struggling. But in reality, really all of us just have doubts, all of us have setbacks, all of us have conflict with someone. And once you understand that this kind of a self-doubt or just struggles in life are just universal, it's so much easier to move forward despite any kind of, despair or hardship, and understanding that it's going to make you stronger and better as a result. It's exactly like, again, going back to the gym, it's like a mental workout. The more you work at it, the stronger you're going to get, the better habits that you're going to get. And so understanding that we all have our minuses, we all have our difficulties, we all have our doubts is just key. So remember that if you're feeling sad, or if you're really angry, or if you have any type of an illness, or someone that you know is in conflict with you, each of us probably have something going on that's, hopefully going to become better and that's going to be overcome by us. But it all depends on how we approach it and how we deal with it, and that we actually do deal with it. And understanding that we're not by ourselves in all of this. There's so many ways to seek for a positive support, and just to let go of this feeling like there's something wrong with us, or that we're, the only ones that have something bad going on. No, it's actually a universal problem. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that people have to deal with like that.
Absolutely. So, do you believe that small and consistent changes can really lead to massive transformations? And would you like to share some examples or experiences that you've faced or gone through?
Sure, I definitely think that small changes will always add up. I think that even if you commit to like reading something for 10 minutes every day, you're going to become way more knowledgeable with time. It may seem tiny, but at the end of the year, it's just going to completely change your way of thinking and your knowledge base. So a lot of people think that no, to have a big transformation, it has to be huge changes. The truth of it is that often, as they say, the devil is in the details. Well, progress is actually in the details. Progress with small changes is what's going to be great. The compounding effect is actually just so real. The little shifts that are done consistently are way more powerful than any type of a big change in order to get a long-lasting transformation. That's what I think. And in terms of what I've done for myself, definitely, I think nobody can be happy long term or organized if they don't sit down and have a think about their thoughts, what their goals are. So for me, these small shifts have been so transformative. I've learned to see opportunity where I used to see difficulties. And so just, if you find a challenge, write down the small things that you want to change. And if you have this kind of inner difficulty in terms of feeling like this resistance that I cannot do this, then just write down all of the tiny steps that you need to do this. For example, if you need to organize your wardrobe, write down, I need to take out the things first. I need to clean out the shelves. I need to fold the things. And then each of these small tasks is going to look way simpler than just thinking, oh, I have all of this stuff to do. And that can be very overwhelming. And if you cannot do all of the steps in one day, no harm done. Just do as much as you can and then take the next day, and you're going to see colossal change and difference and improvement. That's what I think for sure.
Agreed, absolutely agreed. So, Emmy, you've been a amazing motivational speaker, you've been a coach. So, would you like to share any experience of your personal life where you have coached your clients and this was the issue and actually they've overcome with your help? Any story? Would you like to share it with us?
Sure, with pleasure. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be saying exactly who it was about, but definitely I think that just changing something step by step in terms of mindset is what helps a lot of clients. when they're full of really negative emotions, just understanding that even a small change can be a massive improvement. Just going outside for a few minutes for a walk, 10 minutes for a walk, that can change somebody's entire day. And understanding that also a coach cannot really help people when they're depressed. So I don't do that. I tell people to go then to either a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but changing mindset for people and supporting them with their habits and building consistency with this is definitely empowering. And also, I think dealing with loss. I think all of us deal with loss, and as I've said, sometimes loss can be a positive thing if it's a thing that we've lost or an opportunity. Of course, if it's a person, that's an immense, sorrow, and it's something that takes a long time to get over. Or even if it's just a friendship that, has changed and we've understood that we've outgrown or is no longer improving us but just making us bitter or resentful, then helping people with that, I think definitely just step by step, understanding what's going to be the next step in their life and how they can build better friendships or how they can seek other opportunities is such a life change, because when you're in the moment, sometimes you think, how am I ever going to deal with this? How am I ever going to get over this? And just having someone to talk with, I think definitely uplifts people and helps them make a plan to make progress in their life.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. And a very important part of this journey, I think, is which often we get confused, even we as top line executives and leaders get confused, is motivation and discipline. So we often get into this, amalgamation, and then we get confused that motivation and discipline. Uh, how do you see the difference between them, and which one has mattered more in your journey, and what is your opinion on this?
I think that's a really great question also. I think both are extremely important, but if you want to take it long term in terms of success, you have got to have discipline, because motivation is going to be like the spark, but discipline is like the engine to keep going. Once you lose some of the motivation, sometimes you need for this engine to be working. You need to have the discipline that's going to be there on the days when you're like, I don't feel like doing this at all, or I don't want to do this, or I don't even remember why. Discipline is going to be there to support you in taking it further. And I think also, if any excitement fades, then it's key just to remind yourself why you're doing something. Remembering your why, remembering your purpose is going to help you. And once you have the motivation going, that's going to turn into momentum. And momentum, when it's held hand in hand with discipline, that's going to take you so many places, just because you don't always feel motivated. But you can choose to be consistent. So it's choice to, take the action even if you don't feel like it. And all of us don't feel like it sometimes. If it's, we haven't slept long enough, or if we haven't had our morning coffee, or if we have our period, or if, we've just had a fight with our relative or something. Just building this internal resistance and building this discipline is going to be like the pillar of strength for you in every day. So I would suggest that people decide consciously what type of a habit that they want to have, and decide that they're going to keep themselves accountable to make it happen for themselves. Because it's just like, walking from one side of the street to the other. If you don't make it all the way, then you're not there. You need to keep the discipline to keep going, right? So I would definitely say that discipline is far more important than motivation. But motivation and inspiration and having positive emotions is what is going to make our life feel much more exciting. It's going to just bring all these positive hormones and just this will and So that's also important, but definitely discipline if you want to think not just short term but long term success.
Yes, yes, yes. I completely agree upon that. Because once you have discipline in place, you have consistency in place, motivation automatically becomes a part of your life or journey.
Exactly. And as a successful woman, I am sure that you have had to master the art of discipline. I think that motivation is really useful, but discipline is what helps people become strong and survive throughout the entire journey, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I'm also sure that in this journey and in this successful journey, you would have also gone through, difficult days or setbacks or days where you facing a lot of difficulties or setbacks. So, being them a part of your life, what's your way of handling them without losing momentum or confidence?
Well, each of us fail or have kind of setbacks, and when they happen, for me personally, I try to treat them as feedback rather than an ultimate failure. And I always say, and I always think when hardships happen, that if you're a winner, if you're a champion, if you're successful, you don't not fail, you just don't give up. That's the key difference. The key difference is that you don't give up and that you learn something from it, that you can improve yourself. Instead of just asking, why me or why is this happening? Well, because some things are just out of our control and some things can also teach us. So changing the question from why me to what is this actually teaching me is going to make you develop yourself. It's going to empower you. It's going to make you into a way better version of yourself. And that shift will help others just like me. I help myself rather than spiraling just to see setbacks as part of the process. So not getting into this negative, thought loop because it is one of the stepping stones to success, one of the steps to getting better, to understanding yourself. And I think that every person that has genuinely built their own success has had to go through these hardships. I don't think you know or see people that are successful and strong that have never failed or that have never had a hard day in their life. They're usually the ones that have had quite a lot of those and have faced them head on, not been scared, or even if they have been scared, they have been courageous and they have just gone for the success, even though that happened. So that's the main reminder that progress and these lessons should not be wasted. Like, even if you have a detour, it should build resistance.
Absolutely, and that's really beautiful that, if you understand this basic concept, I think the life would become very easy that either you learn from your mistakes or you keep repeating it. And the sooner you understand that you have to learn from it and they're not a failures, they just come to teach you, I think that's where you knack the game.
Yeah, exactly. When you think about life happening not to us, but for us, and that all of this is to make us better, when some of us wish to achieve a certain goal, somehow, life happens that these things start aligning differently in life to take us to a certain place. And we don't always know how it's going to happen, which is interesting. And we think, oh no, why is this happening? I wanted this to happen, right? But actually, it could be taking you to that place or an even better place, but you still have lessons to learn. So, preparation is what life gives you before you achieve any type of a big goal. And I think just understanding and trusting how things happen in your life is going to make your life so much better. So, sometimes either you win immediately, but the biggest success and the long-term success is usually that you learn. So either you win or you learn, and to get to the win part, it's usually a long process of all these setbacks and challenges that you overcome.
So beautifully defined.
Thank you. I think it takes a lot of difficult moments in life and some lonely moments or heartbreaks to learn that all of this is just there to make you stronger. And what I do personally for myself is if I ever have a so called life hiccup or a really big setback, I just take time for myself to make myself better, emotionally regulate myself, get myself back on track mentally. I try to build up my mindset, even listen to positive, uplifting music, try to, read some books that are going to be empowering, talk with people that are going to be inspiring, and then just go for it. Just keep going, not giving up, building the resistance, and just learning from what that was. And sometimes life really does protect us. When we look back, we think, that's why that happened. Actually, it's so great that that didn't happen the way that I wanted, because it turned out even better. And so just looking at the positives, but truthfully, right? We don't want to become completely insane and delusional, but being positive and actually taking the action steps to learn and to become better is going to change life day by day more positively. And you can always learn something. That's the beauty of life. You can speak with people that are in their 90s or whatnot, and they're still learning. Every day is still slightly different. Even like in a beautiful relationship, every day is slightly different. And even if you have any type of a difficulty, just to learn from that, build better systems, build better communication, and understand that none of us are perfect. That's hopefully gonna help others understand how to handle setbacks in the best way.
Yes, yes. And I'm pretty sure that behind this beautiful and amazing Emmy, we have an amazing pillars of strength, and that's your family. So we would love to know more about your family and how they've been working as a strength to you, and how you've been balancing the work and the family.
Sure. I think that family leaves such imprints on each of us, whether it's positive, whether it's negative. It's all a process that makes us the people that we are today. I think that growing up, I received a lot of love and a lot of encouragement, and I think that definitely gave me a lot of positive light that I could then kind of have keeping me going later on. I didn't always have the best relationship with my parents sometimes, especially with my mom, because I was quite rebellious towards her as a teenager. Now I look at it completely differently, and I've learned a lot growing up, and I'm still hopefully going to keep on learning. But I think that having good communication with people that are important to you and your family is just going to give you such a more fulfilling life. For me, for sure, my children are inspiring me on a daily basis. When I look at them, I remember why I'm doing certain things. They're my motivation. My parents also, if I ever need something, if I need to speak with them about something that's, difficult for me, then hopefully usually I find the advice that I need. And sometimes I won't exactly see their perspective in the moment, and then that changes with time sometimes. I'll understand, oh, that's why, and I have people in my family definitely that I think have inspired me so much. My grandmothers, both of them, such incredible women. I think both very strong. Both didn't have easy lives. Sorry, as I've said, oftentimes the people that are very strong are the ones that unfortunately had to deal with a lot of setbacks and not giving up and not giving into failure and just keeping going. And I think for them also, their families were their huge motivation. Both of them had children, and so family and any type of close relationships are definitely a big value um, to everybody, because that's what makes us alive, connection. I don't think it's things that make us excited long term, because any type of a thing that we get for ourselves is going to probably help us in one way or another, but then it's going to get boring after some time. Whereas connections with other people and with family are constantly changing, because we're all evolving, we're all growing up. It's all the process of life that's going through us. And as the saying goes, you never go into the same river twice, because the river keeps going and it keeps changing. Is the same with any type of relationship. And parents are evolving and changing, children are evolving and changing, and definitely staying committed to having meaningful relationships with the people that matter to you is going to make life much more fulfilling. And same goes also for important friendships. I think it's immensely important to take care of this, to keep up. Sometimes we don't manage to keep up with everything at the same time. That's the art of balancing everything, focusing on what matters. But the true friends will understand that silence doesn't necessarily mean any type of a rejection. It just means everybody has their life that they need to deal with, and just checking in from time to time and catching up and learning what's going on is really important.
Yes, yes, that's the code. I think if I think especially with friends, if they really understand that they're the bestest of all.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Even we haven't seen each other for around 3 years, but it's delightful to see you. And I think talking with you every time is slightly different. We're both hopefully evolving professionally in terms of our private lives. And yeah, I think it's super important to have these kind of relationships that makes us more happy, more joyful, that we can grow and learn from also.
Y- Yes, yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And this was an amazing podcast that we have just shot, and we're really excited that we will be doing very good because we really had a great time with you, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it was great to talk with you. I think they were really interesting questions, and I hope that they can help others also. And it was a delight to see you. So thank you so much to all of Passion Vista and to you, Dr. Neetu Singh.
Thank you so much. So, thank you for sharing your wisdom with such honesty and depth. Through our conversation, you've shown us that the real shifts in life often come from the simplest places: a daily habit, a reframed thought, or the courage to take just one step when we feel stuck. So, thank you so much, Emmy, for joining us today for the amazing podcast of Passion Vista. And we really delighted, and I'm sure the viewers would love your opinion and the beautiful details you've shared about how actually the small and simple things can change the lives.
Exactly. Progress is in the small steps that you take.
Absolutely. So, thank you. Have a wonderful day and many, many best wishes for years to come, and especially for your amazing app that you've launched recently.
Thanks. Everybody can go and check it out. And thank you to Passion Vista. Thank you to Dr. Neetu Singh for having me here. And thank you for the wonderful viewers for watching this video. And go and check out all the other videos of Passion Vista, because you can definitely learn a lot from all these really interesting guests that come on all the time.
Emmy, thank you for sharing your wisdom with such honesty and depth. Through our conversation, you've shown us that the real shifts in life often come from the simplest places: a daily habit, a reframed thought, or the courage to take just one step when we feel stuck. To our listeners, if you have ever wrestled with negative self talk, questioned the idea of balance, or struggled with when to hold on and when to let go, let Emmy's journey remind you that you are not alone. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming, it begins with clarity, consistency, and compassion for yourself. And by this, we are ending the show. I'm your host, Neetu Singh Marwa, signing off from Passion Vista Podcast, where every story is a spark and every journey is a path to purpose. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep living your passion. Stay tuned at Passion Vista Podcast.